the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, you know, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq business landscape.
Hello and welcome to a very beautiful Monday. This is Souq News and we are live on Souq Business Landscape. What a day to be alive. Thank you very much for being a part of us last week and being part of the conversation through the social media channels, and we are grateful. I want to say thank you very much. For those that survived the flood that came upon Lagos and part of the country last week and 2 weeks ago, remember this: stay safe. Avoid places and planes that are very, very susceptible to flood. If possible, move. If not possible, then find solutions. Keep the children covered. We won't stop saying that on this particular program. Remember, this is SBL, and on today we will be looking at trending materials, matters that affect not just our economy but transcends Africa. What is energy saying? The decade of gas is upon us. How far have we gone with it? We'll move and get to the US. Wonderful things are happening with OpenAI. People are just saying, yes, they started as a non-profit, but right now it's $1 billion quoted company. We still get to ask ourselves basic questions. Where are we hitting it, missing it, or getting it when it comes to agriculture? That's our mainstay here. This is Souq Business Landscape. My name is Chooks, John Rogers Chooks. I'm not here alone. I still have the wise men here, Your Excellencies. Join me as I welcome the fair one. Priya, how are you doing?
I'm okay. Good morning, Chooks. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigerians. It's good to be here again, another time in your presence, a brand new week.
You sounded a bit quiet. What's happening? You had a nice weekend?
It's quite cold.
It's quite cold. The studio or the weekend?
Everything is cold, including the Monday morning.
Including this beautiful Monday morning.
Yeah, so we're trying to, get the spark so we can, catch the flame and burn.
Okay. While those that decide to burn our woods, we will provide you with enough water to keep the temperature regulated. We're going to a very short break, and once we return, we'll hit the first story. Don't go anywhere.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq business landscape.
Thank you and welcome back. Remember, you can join us on all social media platforms. Just go there and key in Souq News TV. It's that simple. Follow us and we will follow you back. Now let's get straight to what's happening. Energy. Now the federal government has deducted roughly about 256 billion for gas projects. You heard me right. The federal government deducted 256.52 billion from revenue allocation in the first half of 2025 to fund gas infrastructure projects under the Midstream Downstream Gas Infrastructure Fund, that's MDGIF. Officials of FAC data shows sharp monthly fluctuations, with June recording the highest deduction of 66.18 billion, a 60% rise from May. The MDGIF, managed by the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Agency, is part of the decade of gas agenda aimed at boosting processing, transportation, and domestic use of natural gas. Recent equity deals worth over 165 billion, with 10 firms are expected to deliver new processing plants, CNG stations, and LPG facilities nationwide. Now, for those that are wondering, we are looking at by 2030, we have at least 50% migrated to use of gas. Gas, decade of gas. Well, that came on board in 2021. Past administration, late Muhammadu Buhari, and right now we are looking at gas being the power away from crude of the economy. We have about 210.54 trillion cubic feet of gas under our feet. And we say, let's get the process mined and get it going. Now, this particular deduction is majorly coming from the government. Priya, let's start this way. Well, we've had investments from about some other agencies. Dangote is there. Some other people are there. We'll get to call their names later on in the show. But do you think we need more investment from outside government to actualize this decade of gas project?
Yes, we do. We do need investment outside jurisdiction of government. And I don't think the government is undertaking this without paying due attention or undermining its ability to attract investment from private investors. I think the government is working, excuse me, on that. But the thing is, the outlook is about $575 billion. And the first instance, one of the first reasons why it is $575 billion, which is the target capital, the first purpose is for gas investment, to attract investment and expand the gas value chain and the market, so that we can have a very, very easy transition to the gas master plan that was laid down by the previous administration. You mentioned his name, former President Muhammadu Buhari of blessed memories. So that's the target. But if the government is going to do it alone, we're not going to get anywhere. Because already now there has been a complaint already by the subnational government. I won't say a complaint that is really kicking and sparkling fire, but there's a subtle complaint because the deductions are coming right straight from the sources of the Federation account. And because this project actually cuts across all the 6 geopolitical zones, the subnational government had to pay their own due too. And that's why the deduction is coming from the main source itself.
But deduction has to come there because as we speak right now, is the government that is funding this particular initiative.
Yes, but you made a very, very good specific point by asking if private individuals, they are going to do that. So even the government, even if the government tries to sell some form of incentives for private investment to come into the space, their effort and their investment will need to be queried. And it will need to be queried in a way that when they come in, they are not just going to invest. They are coming into the investment space will need to a certain level, be incentivized.
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 So actually incentivize you to come and make money.
To know, no, it's not about making money. To know you must make it appealing.
Okay.
And attractive for
right
these
now,
private investors to come in.
I agree with you. Right now, government is laying the framework.
Yes.
The pipelines are being built. Some of the major drilling and exploration is being mapped out.
Quite capital intensive.
Exactly, and going on already. NLNG has been there doing their bits. They are still working on the next train right now. What we need to do, they're looking at demand, supply, infrastructure, and economic principles.
Especially
now,
infrastructure.
If we have infrastructure without demand, how will we deal with that?
Europe is in need of gas.
Okay.
In fact, the whole world is almost in need of gas, and guess where the deposit is? We are one of the, Nigeria as a country, we have one of the vast deposits of gas. In fact, even more than the crude oil we celebrate.
Okay.
So all eyes are on us to deliver.
All eyes are on us, I think.
Yes, and having the right infrastructure in place to be able to explore it and make it marketable and to be able to supply our demand or those who need it outside the country is something that will not make anybody stay away, because Nigeria is the market. Nigeria is, we stand as one of the biggest suppliers because we have it. So what we should be able to do is, in our bid to attract investors, we shouldn't just be looking at attracting investors within alone, but investors from outside the country as well. Do remember the transatlantic gas pipeline that Europe is seriously involved in. One of the reasons why this project has been stalling is not only coming from local agitators in the communities where this gas pipeline is going to start being built, some other countries, some other African countries that are coming in as participators, as stakeholders as well, that are equally raising eyebrow. And if you look at it very well, Nigeria is, having the stake that we're having in there is even more than 50%.
Right now?
Yes, because it's going to go through every other country to its destination, which is Europe.
We've not invested more than others.
Oh yes, we are the source.
We are the source.
Yes.
Okay, let's look at local consumption. Demand-wise, the policy is trying to get us to use at least 60% of what we are exploring. How possible is that?
60% of what we are exploring.
60% of what comes out will be used domestically. Then 40% can go outside. Which means we have to transition majorly to gas to be able to get that amount of consumption.
Yes, but if you talk about the transition state, we are still in the very preliminary stage of transition.
Right now, we are doing about 22.6 cubic feet, and 4.9 cubic feet. And the projection is 22.6 cubic feet.
So we are not even doing a quarter. We're not even doing a quarter. We're doing 4 point something.
We're doing 4.9.
And the target 4.9. So
and the target is 22.
Not even 5.
That's about 500% increase. Over 500% increase.
Over 500% increase. Yes. So we're not projection, but we're not even doing often up to a quarter of our projections yet.
We're not doing
10%
of the projection.
We're not. That's a quarter. We're not even doing up to it. Yeah, we're not even doing 10% of it. So if we're looking at that, how are we going to?
We're doing about 20-something% of the projection.
So if that is the case, how are we going to? What's lacking is infrastructure.
Now, apart from infrastructure, the supply. Infrastructure is being built. Now, we are looking beyond just infrastructure, because even after the infrastructure is being built, the next question I will now get to ask you is, okay, good, government built Warri Refinery, government built Kaduna Refinery. What came of it? So these are things that we need, how would I call it? These are demons we need to face and cross them. If government decides to go all out and build this infrastructure, how are they going to get managed? Are we going to build and hand over to private firms? Or is this the time when private firms should come in and be part of that building?
Okay. First of all, we've seen how someone has built the card in regards to private firms' participation in the sector or in the industry. And if that person has come in and laid the plan, we can see similar projects kicking off in some other places. Okay. As well.
The person in quote is also part of this initiative.
Yes, of course he had to be, because he's a colossus when it comes to talking about issues, gas, crude, and all of that. So his presence, participating, irrespective of his complaints or the demons he is facing by participating in that sector, is not going to hinder other private individuals from coming in, because for some, political leverage can grant them the capacity that they require and they needed to participate in that sector and to participate effectively and efficiently and to become another colossus that is quite competitive, even with Dangote in there. So, meeting local consumption, you're talking about 60% for local consumption. Private individuals that are coming to participate in the sector might want to derail that target.
Why would they derail the target?
They might derail the target subconsciously, but they can also derail the target intentionally, but by way of being motivated for profit. Because that's their target.
It's a business.
It's a business. So if they're going to, if subconsciously or consciously, they might derail the target that the government has set in place for us to supply and to satisfy local consumption first before going outside, knowing that when they go outside, they are going to get foreign hard currency in terms of the dollar.
They still have more than enough to push outside.
You cannot evaluate or assess more than enough.
Okay, now let's look at the economic principles. There is no way we can transition this fast, this much, without government incentive to also cater for those that cannot afford it directly. right now as we speak, we're talking about LPG. Your normal cooking gas is well over 1,000 plus per kg. Now we're transitioning. It's not coming down yet. So government has to do a whole lot to cater for those
I know
down
what
there.
you are insinuating.
So if we say profit, somebody has to come in the middle.
Okay, but that's, we are talking about profit when it comes to private participation.
Definitely they will go for profit.
They will go for profit. But let's also hope that what we are currently witnessing and experiencing in the crude sector is going to also reflect there. Where there had been this tangle among the marketers and some of the colossus within there, and the competition is falling to the advantage of the consumer, or seemingly falling to the advantage of the consumer, not just for now, and it's going to continue that way because we have more players who are coming into the industry in the crude sector. So let's assume that it's going to go the same phase is going to come up when it comes to the gas flaring and the gas industry. So and if that happens, let's see that we can begin to picture where 1 kg of the LPG could fall down to below 1,000 naira.
Did you say fall down? As you really want it down?
Well, because
if you say below, if you say below 1,000,
government must understand something, because we cannot preach. I mentioned it earlier. We cannot preach climate. We cannot preach full transition and see some of those things that we need to give up for us to achieve full transition. Fine, the government is working on infrastructure, which is very, very critical when we're talking about full transition and the plan that has been set up in place for us to even attain zero emission when it comes to 2065 by way of the previous administration when he went to COP 26, COP 27. I'm trying to remember. Now, before you ask the personal question,
I need to ask the personal question. Do you believe, you personally, do you believe in zero emission?
Okay.
2065.
It's not about belief. Okay. You should probably maybe coin the question this way: that do you see us achieving?
I'm not trying to say you see us.
You have to put it that way.
Looking at the fair one, and from your side of the divide, and where you come from, will you preach zero emission 2065?
Well, no. I won't. I would preach zero emission for Europe. I would preach zero emission for China.
Okay.
I would preach zero emission from the United States and from other big participants. But I won't preach zero emission for Africa. I won't preach zero emission for Algeria, for Angola, for Nigeria.
Okay.
I am sorry. I cannot do that. Why? Because look at when we talk about the stage of our industrialization, and how the years of 100% emission, when I mean 100% emission, like you can continue to, what gave birth to industrialization, or what actually fueled industrialization in the West. This is the time for Africa to really take the bull by the horn. Sorry, we have a lot of deposit of this under our feet, and for us to get to where you currently are, or even 75 or 85% of where the West currently are in terms of development, economic development, we need to continue emission. We need to continue to
burn carbon.
To burn carbon. Yes, it sounds dangerous, but we just have to do that. If it is not dangerous, when the West were involved in it, and rapid industrial global development took place in the northern hemisphere, then we have to replicate the same. For now, until they have to wait until we get to a certain level of development, economic prosperity, where we do not see, where our young Nigerians do not see japa or running away from the continent of Africa, running away from Nigeria as to chase greener pasture somewhere, until we begin to see an average Nigerian think that way, that look, I don't need to japa or anything, because the economic business ecosystem here, by way of government involvement, private participation, whether you are in Lagos, Abuja, Kano, you are in Delta State, you are in Ebonyi State, irrespective of how local or uneconomically viable the state is, but to a certain level they've built their capacity to a certain level in terms of job provision, in terms of providing facilities and social amenities, in terms of providing the right environment for businesses to thrive, for us to have electricity. Even if we don't have it for 24 hours, we can do 24 hours 3 times in a week, or we can do 24 hours 5 times in 7 days. When we see manufacturing hubs spread across the country, not only being owned by private organizations or foreigners, but also by local domestic investors, and they are confident in the system that the government had provided. Until we begin to see that, then we can now start talking about, okay, now we can now start having serious conversation about zero emission, because we didn't put the planet in jeopardy.
Okay. You didn't put the planet in jeopardy.
I mean, Africa didn't put the planet in jeopardy.
Okay.
Now that it's beginning to see that the planet is in jeopardy, then you have to allow us to get to that place where we begin to feel it, that, oh, the planet is actually in jeopardy. Then, because if the planet is in jeopardy, and they think flaring of gas or burning carbon is actually driving the planet to the rocks, and Europe and the West have done that for a long time.
I'm still doing the same.
And they're still doing the same, because the zero emission that they preach, they all have different time frames for us to attain to that zero emission. And for Africa, I'm so sorry, President Muhammadu Buhari, 2065 is completely unattainable. In fact, even
okay.
to...
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. Calm down.
All right.
You're good. Okay. Now, this decade of gas...
Why are you making it sound like I am going overboard?
No, you're good. You're good. This decade of gas is in the right direction. Now, we might not be looking at 2065. Good and fine. If we're able to achieve this decade of gas by 2030, we would have done well over 60% of achieving, reducing our carbon footprint. Well, now let's look at transition. At the end of the day, ability to transit from our carbon burning to gas, from charcoal to refined crude to gas, depends on ability of the common person, everyday person, to utilize gas, to have access to gas, to drive gas. What sort of investment can make this possible? What sort of public announcement, push, can make this possible?
If you want to make public announcement to stir up people to actually forgo every other alternative apart from gas, but that is dangerous or that it will drive us to burning carbon, to stay with gas, currently we should ask ourselves, are we actually meeting domestic demand? Are we meeting domestic demand?
For CNG, for LPG?
LPG.
And CNG?
Are we meeting it? I don't think so. For CNG, I'm skeptical.
Okay.
Because the demand is not as high as LPG. Because
we need a whole lot of stations to sell. We need a lot of cars to convert.
Yes. So for CNG, I would consider it secondary. Primarily, I would consider LPG.
Okay.
Because when you look at more than 200 million people, you want everyone to be on gas. Are we meeting the demand?
Can we?
Oh, we can. And I think even that's even the reason why there is this push for the infrastructure. And why we've hit 256 billion in terms of building infrastructure and putting all the right infrastructure in the 6 geopolitical zones to make sure that, look, okay, we'll be able to serve all the states, each of the states within those 6 geopolitical zones, because it's going to be in one of the major states that account for probably where exactly its infrastructure is situated, so they can create substations around the 6 or 5 or 6 states around that major state, so they can tap from the infrastructure and build substations of those infrastructure that can uphold and ease, smoothen the transition. But now, when we look at the LPG consumption, people whom you think can even afford it, they're relapsing, because if you want 1,300 for 1 kg.
That's much, right?
Of course it is. Okay. When we consider the economic power, when we consider the economic muscle, because when you talk about issues like this, most of the time they feel you pay too much attention to, for lack of a better word, common man. Because I don't like the word common man.
Okay. Since you don't like the word common man, at the last count, about 10 firms and an investment of about 165 billion, which, well, they are looking at more CNG stations, more gas processing plants. Is a step in the right direction, is a drop, but we need a whole lot more. If we say CNG, beautiful. If we say LPG, at least the cost must come down so that it's affordable. Are we looking at another means of subsidy, government subsidy, to make this happen?
I thought that was what you were insinuating earlier in the program when we start having this conversation.
So, answer me. Are we looking at possibility of government subsidy in this?
Who are we subsidizing? Because I remember vividly when we
talked about... If you tell the man in Kaurana Moda to go and buy gas, when he can easily walk into the forest and cut down firewood, you have to make it good for him to go and buy. You have to make it accessible. You have to make it attractive. Better than him going to go and cut the firewood.
Yes, whilst we're doing that, we have to consider his pocket. Is he someone that can afford it?
So if you can bring down the price somehow for the guy in Kauranamuda or the guy in Abakaliki, so a village down somewhere.
Yes. How does the government bring in the technology and the required wherewithal to know that, okay, we are going to subsidize people, but we want to know where exactly we are subsidizing? This is not like electricity where by way of some form of technology, I know the company can do that by way of, even without using technology in the first place, you consider locations.
Good. Can I ask one question before we move to next story? Government knows how to get ballot boxes and election materials to the
across
interior,
to interior.
And they know where they take bike
and
send people on foot to go. So they know where they can subsidize if they want to subsidize.
Okay, so the government is going to build LPG stations in those places and run a LPG business in a way to subsidize just those locals in that area, or private individuals are going to establish that. Again.
At a particular point in time, there was government money distribution to, in quote, the poor. So how did they find
money is fluid? I'm not saying gas is not fluid. Money is no, it's not. It's not the same thing. It's not the same. The technology with which money can move from one location to another location is so fluid that it does not require a capital intensive hardware as such for the man at the ebb of society to get
the National Gas Pipeline Project.
Yes.
Good. And it's supposed to cover the entire geopolitical zone.
Yes.
So offtake is going to be from the major pump stations to other holding stations down to the end user.
Okay.
So good. So if we transition, in quote, if we transition fully, we should also start looking at our ability to make sure that the poor, the very poor, have access to it, but not at the same price as the man in Lekki Phase 1.
If the government is thinking, that's a good way for the government to really think to bring inclusivity. But if the government is going to do that, how is the government going to determine? Because if you say by location, do remember that some of the reasons why private individuals establish businesses, they consider location. And they can look at a location and tell the capital or the profit margin and the output that they are likely going to get from such a location. And that in itself could be a disincentive to pumping in capital or erecting an establishment there. Of course, when you talk of Lekki Phase 1, we all know that these are well-to-do people who live around there. And so if you're looking at establishing a business or owning an office there, you know that running there for for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, you should be able to, you're looking at, your forecast, you'll be looking at getting back not only the capital that you've sent in establishing the business, but also making profit. So when they look at issues like that, can they associate those kind of deductions with what might obtain in area carry or those local environments that you are thinking of? They're still going to need to build those physical infrastructure and pump stations. And government will not necessarily build those pump stations because government may not be able to run business at that same level. Maybe you can start talking about the local government and the wherewithal of not only meeting the needs of people at the ebb of society, but also to equally make profit that will serve as an IGR. But you know what? They have to do that in connection with the federal government and to negotiate this path so that each local government, the 774 local government or more, I think we have, in this specific local government, where in connection with the federal government, they can build specific stations, substations, that will be feeding the poor of the poor or the poor at that part of society. But you know what? Even at that, we could have the rich who would drive in from a place like Lekki down to those places, and get. So it's quite it's something to really look at, because if the government is going to bring in incentive or subsidize that area, it's going to be very, very demanding. And we have said and agreed on this table that if government is going to be bringing subsidy into its fare or into an industry and economy because it's trying to meet demand at the ebb of society and to give him, some form of palliative, it shouldn't be for everybody, because some people, a lot of people, can do without such government subsidies.
Okay, thank you very much, Priya. Remember, this is Souq News, and we are 100% on board for the decade of gas. We want to see things change. And if gas can really be our next major earner, we are all up for it. But to achieve this, everyone needs to get involved. If we say, let's reduce our carbon emission, I'm involved, you're involved. Let's go straight to our next story. Nigeria moves to regain lost oil. Okay, now, we spoke about this a bit sometime last week, if you remember. And we were asking ourselves some basic questions. If the story is about our ability to drill more, majorly just drill more, go beyond the 1.5 to 1.5 million barrels we are making right now, and push towards 2-point-something million. That's what the story is all about. And we spoke a little about it sometime last week. Now we just finished talking about gas. But we're still looking at being able to end till this possibility of 2030. Should we, at this point in time, start looking at oil fields that have been dormant for a while and say, hey, if the person that has this license is not doing anything, take it off?
3 weeks ago, we had a conversation like that where the government, was really pointing.
Yeah, the government is still pointing. Do. Aside pointing.
Yeah.
Do.
Pointing hands on those who have licenses and who have not really gone in fully to utilize, explore, and put into use the licenses that they've been given, and the oil fields that are just lying dormant, the oil wells that are lying dormant. And the government was saying, we are going to, I think a specific time frame was actually laid out by Souq time. If those who own the licenses have not, gone to work, it might be withdrawn from them. And if you're talking about withdrawal, this is one of the reasons why the current Federal Capital Territory Minister, when he got in the saddle, he made a statement like this, and that's why a lot of people sat up, and you could see he made the news for quite a long period of time, because in fact he went as far as even the National Mosque and the National Church, had to stand on their toes. I'm like, sorry, Your Excellency, Mr. Minister, these are the papers, and they came out to clear their names. And I think government should, take that action into that main space, because if the government toils with it, its plan for us to achieve the 2.2 million barrels per day would just be boasting in emptiness, or making plans in emptiness, and be taking actions that are indirectly, subverting the plans that you have made. 2.2 million barrels. Or 2 point, it is very, very achievable. But if remember, some of these persons who actually have the licenses and who have been given ownership of those oil wells, some of them didn't actually get it because they are business savvy and they have the business acumen to be able to deliver. Why are you asking me that question like you do not know?
You just said it.
Some of them got it by political affiliation. Some of them got it because they are cronies. And we can't just say that that's actually what obtains in this current administration. Previous administration have been, part of the whole charade. Now, current administration too, if it has perceived some of those underhand and ulterior play in there, should sanitize the stables. And if he's going to do that, and I think it has been doing that, that is why it was given the warning about 2-3 weeks ago that some of the holders of these licenses are not doing what is required of them, are not doing the needful, and they are stalling business, they are stalling the developmental activities and the developmental plan of the current administration. And it should move from a subtle warning, from waving the carrot in front of them to using the stick.
The big one.
Yeah, using the stick, because if not, we will not attain that. And if we do not attain that, the deficit we are going to suffer in the 2025 budget is going to be humongous and more than what we've seen or more than what we have in the books. The deficit in debt servicing is even there.
Debt servicing is there,
which is about 70%.
Paying for the loans we took with oil is still there.
It is still there. So what
inability to sustain the local refineries are still there.
And we will not be able to meet up with the 2.02 or 2.2 million barrels per day and the price of oil for the fact that it's not selling at $75 at the moment. You could see that all the indices are working against the forecast that the administration has churned out. And if that is going to be the case, then the government must begin to put, stick approach in that area, so that we can bring life into those the operation and the functionality of those licenses. And sometimes it might need you to sell, it might need you to redirect those licenses to operators. But by the time they do that, and some of them are going to be foreigners, Souq will raise an eyebrow.
Okay, before I raise eyebrow, remember it's 2026, and we say by 2026 we want to be able to pull in about 2.2 million barrels a day. That at least we'll be able to make us outperform our OPEC quota and service the refineries that will be coming on board. That is a plus. So to everyone within that space, let's not sleep on it. Let's get it going. We're going to go on a very short break. And when we return, Olumide will be joining us and this discussion will continue. Don't go anywhere.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
It said it's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq business landscape.
In Africa, and there's one man who has consistently been a household name and index of reference in the business arena. The name Aliko Dangote apparently stands tall. The Africa's richest man clearly benchmarks success, wealth, and prosperity. His unofficial love and passion for business are quite phenomenal. These can be traced to his background. Born in April 10, 1957 to Maria Sanusi Dangote and Mohammed Dangote, his maternal ancestors were prosperous caravan traders under British colonial rule, and his grandfather, Alhaji Sanusi Dangote, was a commodity trader. Dangote's grandfather was heavily involved in his upbringing and helped ignite his entrepreneurial spirit. For Dangote, one will ever assume his wealth was handed out or easily channeled, being an offspring of Dantata, but his success didn't come through daydreaming. Dangote complemented inherited fortune with deliberate hard work and innovation to pave his way to the top. Those who knew Dangote while growing up will not be surprised at his outstanding success. At age 8, Dangote uses pocket money to buy sweets, which he and others sell for a profit. Everything big in life starts from little. Taking a clue from this, Dangote, from a seed loan of 500,000 obtained from his uncle, started business, which he traded commodities and business supplies, primarily cement. By 1981, his firm was successful that he had incorporated other businesses and established the Dangote Group. His empire extended to foodstuffs, including sugar, salt, wheat, cement, haulage, and other business concerns. Among his oldest were Dangote Industries, Dangote Bale Nigeria, Dangote Cement PLC, Benue Cement Company PLC, Dangote Sugar Refinery PLC, Dangote Flour Mills, and Nascent Ally Industries PLC. In addition to his holdings in Nigeria, the Dangote Group has operations in several other African countries. With these giant strides in the business arena, Dangote will forever be grateful to his grandfather for giving him wings to fly. According to Forbes, an American business magazine, Dangote remains the richest man in Africa with an estimated fortune of $13.9 billion. Dangote is one Nigeria, highly decorated with honors as well. His urine service and huge investment also got him both local and international recognitions. Like the Guardian Man of the Year in 2015, he won the 2016 African Business Leader Award organized by the African American Institute. Dangote was cited as one of the top most influential Africans by the New African magazine in 2015, 2017, 2018, and 2019. He was recently conferred with the prestigious award of the National Order of the Lion by the President of Senegal. When it comes to breaking jinx, Dangote has it in full measures. He took his pioneering and jinx-breaking adventure to another dimension with the unveiling of the $20 billion refinery, widely adjudged as the largest single-train petrochemical refinery in the world. The refinery has the total capacity of 650,000 barrels of crude oil per day and is expected to earn as much as $21 billion in annual income. Situated on 2,500 hectares site at the Lekki Free Trade Zone, Lagos, it is supplied with crude oil by the largest subsea pipeline infrastructure in the world. When fully in operation, the refinery will provide 135,000 permanent jobs in the region. When it comes to family life, Dangote seems to, however, prefer maintaining a low profile. He got married to Zainab in 1977 but divorced at an unknown date. He was later married to Maria Mohammed Rufai. Dangote has 3 daughters named Halima, Maria, Fatima, and he also adopted a son named Abdurrahman. Dangote is one grounded authority that combines rare intelligence with self-effacing demeanor, a persona that naturally makes kindness. Like an eagle, Dangote's foresight and unusual business acumen make him a rare to come by. Though he owns chains of business in Nigeria and across Africa, the quest by this uncommon risk taker to conquer more business territories may not wane anytime soon.
First of all, be rebranded.
It said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content, and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq business landscape.
Welcome back. This is SBL, Souq Business Landscape, and we're live on Souq News TV. Now, remember, you can join us on all social media platforms. Just go to Souq News and type in those keywords. And wherever you are, tweet at us, say hi. We'll tweet back at you. Follow us, that's very important. And join the conversation. It's very necessary because we are getting to somewhere that concerns every one of us. Taxation. You heard me right. Taxation. Now, a whole lot of things have happened in the last few years, in the last 2 years of this administration on taxation. They've been renewing, onboarding, new act, and all that. But as we speak right now, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, whose name is going to change by January 1st, they've onboarded 1,000 firms into the E-Invoicing platform. The Federal Inland Revenue, you heard us right, that they've integrated over 1,000 large companies. Now, these are large taxpayers, not just large companies. Farmers integration, all could be large companies, but large taxpayers into the new e-invoicing system 2 weeks after the rollout. Now, the platform designed to modernize tax administration captures real-time transaction to improve compliance and reduce revenue leakages. You heard us right. Now, FRRS says the system will boost transparency, expand the tax base, and formalize businesses outside the tax net. A 3-month extension has been granted to full integration, with enforcement now set for November 1st, 2025. That is for big companies. Altogether, they gave about 5,000 big companies in that particular cadre, but right now, they've done 20%. 1,000 has been integrated. Congratulations to the first guys that joined the live feed, the MTNs, the Hawaii, the IHS, and all that. Now, Your Excellencies, join me as I also bring on board for this segment, of taxation, because he has to pay. Olumide, you're welcome.
Good morning, so glad to have you. So glad to be here, rather. Good morning, Priya. Good morning, Chooks.
Yeah, we onboard you.
Everybody's
fighting the cold.
You know,
it's not going to flu yet, but we're all
Priya
fighting.
and I, we were at one particular market, and we just did a bit of short analysis of the amount that is being generated. I'm talking about the Yaba market.
Okay.
And I was saying that imagine if all these traders, yes, they pay some form of tax, maybe to the Ag bureaus, tax force,
local government.
But imagine if they are captured under this our tax system. Imagine what we sat down there. There was a woman who was charging us how much? I think 5,000. And right there and then, I'm sure she would have made over 100,000.
What was it? 5,000.
So she meant clothes.
Okay.
So if you buy cloth there and you don't like, it's not your size, you take it to, that is where everybody goes. In fact, wherever you go, they'll direct you to her.
As you're buying, you go mend.
She sews it to according to your size, and she's making a whole lot of money. There are some other people there, they are making so much money right in that place. So imagine if this particular informal sector is captured. Imagine how much will be generated from that Yaba. I'm not talking of the modernized complex. I'm talking about the other side where, where we have the actual Yaba, where we used to have the where we now have the rail. Yes, they've shifted them to one part of the other side. And the market is always booming. And we have other markets like that too.
Bigger ones. Way bigger ones.
One around here.
That's an international market.
So imagine, imagine if, so yes, kudos to the, should we call them the FIRS or the new name, but still FIRS until 2026. Kudos to them. I hope that by 2026 we'll be able to capture all, both formal and informal sector.
You are looking at all, I'm looking at 50%.
Why should we be mediocre?
No, now, if we can do
50% alone. For a start.
We will see the major transition. Because when we're trying to capture all, we'll miss a whole lot of things.
Okay, true. So if we can capture 50.
That's the target, capturing
50.
all.
Capturing
is, but so it will be done in phases. And the first phase now we're looking at the 20%. We'll just I don't think that's where.
No, those are major big taxpayers.
Those are major big taxpayers.
Out of 5,000, 1,000 has been done.
But if we're looking at that, 100% is achievable. But there are also taxpayers, and this is the reason why they have been calling for demarcation. I know jurisdiction for those who pay taxes to the federal government, to the state government, and to the local government. So for the market that Olumide just alluded to, is it a market that we look at operating at the level of the state government, with the federal with the state? I mean, with the local government, would the state government allow such?
You've not been talking about the local government.
Yes,
because they are there every day.
Yes, they are.
Their foot soldiers are on ground.
Their foot soldiers on ground. But one of the reasons that brought up that conversation, you are in a program. That's why even on the weekend, where you feel you are not sitting in a conventional table like this to have the conversation about Souq business landscape, you're moving around business landscape, and the business environment is what is running through your mind. You're looking at the woman that sells at tarodo at the roadside, and you're assessing her, you're having a conversation with her, you are looking at all other things. So whilst we were looking at that, we bought a few things, and then we run into the analysis and we start making calculations. It was even being moderate, because we made calculations where that person he was talking about could be making between 350,000 to 500,000 naira a week.
A week?
Yes.
Okay.
Because of the influx of people coming in there and what they do. Because of the influx of people coming in there and what they do. So we look like, okay, fine, she might be doing that in a week. And she's doing that in a week, 5 days in a week, though, because they equally work Saturdays. But we looked at a week, just Monday to Friday.
Monday to
Saturday. If she can make 350,000 naira in a week, because we are very, very certain with our calculation, she's making 100,000 naira a day.
Okay.
Between 80,000 and 100,000 naira a day. Because the reason why we are saying that is because of how much we spent, we spent that day.
Even told one of the guys who owned the boutique that if I'm going to be an apprentice under you, he said...
I wanted him to employ me. He said he can't...
I was under him for 6 years.
6 years?
Yes.
Yes. That I was going to.
Wow.
Then when I'm done, he's going to get me a.
He now goes ahead and settle you.
No, he talks about settle, but just say he's going to get me a shop and give me some money to buy a few things. I said okay. I said fine. He said he had trained a whole lot of people. So we were looking at that. So we came at the moderate amount of between 80,000 and 100,000 naira a day, and she looked at it and we made some calculation. Okay, let's assume 80,000, 100,000. Let's just put it at a month, because if you're making 180 and 100,000 a day for 5 days in a week, you should be making 400,000 plus. So we say, okay, let's bring it down to 350, 300,000 naira for a week.
A week.
Okay, then 4 weeks in a month.
That's 1.4.
And she's making, just by sitting on the roadside, she doesnn't look it.
Has no shop.
Has no shop, just for a cubicle at the roadside. And she could be going on with a 1.4.
Informal sector business.
Yes. And we were having serious conversation about the informal sector, how it's being captured. And we looked at the vastness of the market. Okay, if this is being captured, are they paying tax? And he said, oh yeah, I'm sure they are paying tax.
Definitely
to the local.
Definitely they are.
To the local government. Okay, fine. Even if they are paying tax to the local government, we started talking about if the money is getting to the local government.
Okay, that's another conversation for another day.
That's why I feel it should be captured maybe under the federal government, or basically under.
No. I wouldn't say. I will not agree that.
Will it be remitted? That was what brought the question.
When we're talking about remittances, I won't even go with Olumide's argument that the federal government should come in. I will want the local government to still put its foot on ground, but to also to go digital the way we have the FIRS going.
Okay.
Because if we had to go digital the way the FIRS is going, we will cut off a whole lot of people, non-state actors that are playing in that space and that are cutting away lots of money that is meant for the economic development of the local government. So if we can cut them
since we also have to acknowledge the political side of it.
Since both of you have decided to shake this table, let's just
break it.
That is in Nigeria, they say, let's cuckoo. Let's just cuckoo, shake it. So you need to get yourself a Nigerian friend to understand this balance. Now, if we say that you call them non-state actors, you said political sides. Hope you know that with the advent of every new administration, be it state, be it federal, some specific people are given some localities to oversee.
Yes.
So those localities could be from the chairman's side or from those in quote. And any market that is at that particular place belongs to them to oversee.
Yes.
So whatever revenue they collect, a percentage goes to their services, then they now remit to the state.
Yes.
Now, if the federal government has come up with E-Invoicing, thanks to Federal Inland Revenue and thanks to NITDA, that's the National Information Technology Agency, and they also have other 16 partners, tech partners, and they are making it possible. If we introduce this at that level, just like you said, we are cutting them off completely.
Taking food out of their table.
How are they going to compete for 2027 election? Because they need the support
How are
of
they even
these
going to
people.
react?
Yeah. They need the support of these people
Yes.
to win an election.
Okay.
So, Priya, you started shaking this table.
Okay, fine. If you want me to shake it the more, let me say, before we start talking about contesting for the 2024, 2027 elections and subsequent elections, let's shake it a little bit more by saying some of these black and yellow vehicles or transport commercial vehicles, not just downforce that drive around. In fact, it has gone from the black and yellow to white and blue and to several other colors that drive around. And you see, sometimes you watch them, they sit down, they are loading a pack for, maybe they're telling you Aja 1,002, Aja 1,000. And at the end of the day, when the 14 or 18 passengers have entered the vehicle, they pay like 2,500 naira to the Agberos.
They pay more than that.
They pay more than that. They pay more than that. 2,500 for each vehicle. Imagine that money. It doesn't get to the local government. I need to be convinced more than just the...
We will need to have them on this table to talk about it. Because you are alleging right now.
Yes, it's an allegation. So imagine if that 2,500 naira to load a vehicle, and those drivers, those commercial vehicle operators, have just a card, like a cowrie-wise card, or just have any card
to swipe.
To just swipe and just get 1,000 naira alone to the local government, or 700 naira alone to the local government to just move. Imagine the crowd of people we've cut off. Imagine the massive revenue that is coming to both the local government, because even if you swipe and you say 1,000 naira, it can be divided into two. Okay, about 400 naira gets to the state government, 600 naira gets to the local government. Or if we were to take it further, even if it's 1,200 or 1,500 naira, by one swipe, you feel like, okay, if the federal government is going to get anything, 400 naira gets to the federal government, another 400 naira or 500 naira gets to the state government, then about 500 or 600 naira gets to the local government. By every swipe, no, I'm talking about cutting away those people.
Okay.
If such infrastructure,
if you decide to cut them away,
if such infrastructure, no, it's not about cutting them away. It's about introducing technology into our tax, into the system. And I tell you, I don't think it is an area our political actors will want to go into.
Okay.
Yes, because it's a trade. It's a trade, like you said.
It's a trade that
we
will
are
not them into
giving
that
you
office.
a territory. We have your allegiance.
Let's even break it the more. I feel if you load from a garage, you pay this amount, then every bus stop, you begin to pay something. From my calculation, if 3 passengers enter, they take 1, or whatever passenger enter, they take the fee of 1. So that's why sometimes the bus driver will tell the Agbero that in your color that is only 1 person that entered, and he's ready to forgo that person. He can tell the passenger to come down, that there's no gain if 1 passenger enters and I have to pay you the amount of a passenger. So I feel, why can't we collapse and merge it into one? We could make it from 6 a.m. to 12, 12 to 6, and 6 to 12, or we can make it 24 hours, whereby with your card, you swipe, you pay for that whole day or from that 6 to 12. And you're not paying anybody anymore. So it distributes it digitally to non-state actors, state actors, whoever is involved, whoever wants a piece of that cake, let them have it. But it gives you that peace of mind that I have paid for the day, or I've paid from so time to so time. And
should they be paying in the first place?
Well, usually that money, let's break the table.
Should they be paying?
The National Union of Road Transport Workers.
Did they construct the road?
Thank you. That's where I'm going. So, what are they actually using that money for? If you're using it to build garage, because I told Priya, at the end of the day, it's the state government that is building all these things for them.
Good.
So, what are they actually? I told Priya when we were at the market that this money that this government or whoever is collecting this tax force or whoever is collecting it, there's a particular dilapidated building right at Yaba, and people are there. If you use part of that money to refurbish or renovate that place, one of the people there, even if you increase their fee, they will be happy because you renovated that place. Those are where the money should be going, but it's not actually going there. And these monies, let me tell you, some of these traders, they don't give out this money from their heart. Some say some kind of, we know what they say. When they give out this money.
We don't know. Now, you are coming to some terrains that we are not really sure of. So we don't know where you're taking us to. Now, for those at the Federal Inland Revenue, they unveiled 16 tech companies as service providers to support the taxpayers and the onboarding process. And we are looking at, they will be majorly involved in system integration and act as access point providers. For the big taxpayers, they had an estimation of over 5,000 companies. From these 5,000, they've done 1,000. That's just 20% of it. Now, at what point are we going to start seeing integration of normal individuals aside companies?
I think they need to have some of interagency collaboration, especially with the Corporate Affairs Commission, because whether you like it or not, thousands of people are registered every day. And most of these people that are registered, they don't even know that they're supposed to pay tax. I know someone who contacted me and was looking for a name for his company. And I told him, I hope you know that you're going to pay tax. It's not just to register a company and say, oh, I have a business. Because if you go online now, we have so many CEOs or online vendors, but are they actually paying? So I think they should hand in hand work with CAC. So you have, CAC can actually give you the number of businesses. From there, you can now start working that, okay, this is the amount of businesses or business owners, whether limited liability partnership or whatnot. You have them. Names. You have it all. Then you can now start to narrow down.
I hope you also know there is a specific turnover before you can pay tax.
True. But at least if you have that number, if it's captured, you know that, okay, we have 1,000 registered names. Okay, out of this 1,000, this is not yet matured for turnover. This is the amount. They have that data. That's one of the ways they can go. Okay, but we also need orientation. Okay. People need to be informed. People need to know that, yes, once you register a business, this is what it entails. I know the lawyers, their legal advisors will do that also, but people also need to be informed.
Okay, now, let's come back to these non-state actors. Now, we get to see a case where even the major companies, the major taxpayers, when they are moving materials, both man and materials, logistics, we still get to see them stopped by a lot of people around local government based on either their cars or what they are carrying, and we still see these people pay some money. I won't call it extortion. You give it a name. At what point should we see all this go away? If they are paying directly to the federal government or paying to a state or paying for some services, why do we still see non-state actors on the roads collecting monies from people?
Well, like what we've painted before, the political actors don't really want these non-state actors to stop doing what they're doing because they're servicing each other until we get to a place where both political actors are, well, those who are jostling for political power, seem like they don't need any of this boys to win election, which is it seems like an impossibility at the moment as we speak. So if it serves as an impossibility, how are we going to get this off? It's going to be a very Herculean task because it's like disrupting the whole system all over completely, and the resistance, it's unimaginable. It's unimaginable. And the only way, because even the same, what are the proposal I made from the onset by cutting off this middleman, by digitizing the system. When you digitize the system, are they going to be running on their own? Does that mean that the state governments are going to own every transport vehicle indirectly? Because that is the only way they can digitize it.
What if the transport vehicles just register with the state? So you're registered.
You register with the state. Will the state stand up for you when you get molested by these people who keep the watch at the bus stop and the garages?
So they keep the watch.
Okay. Because even if the government going to build the garage, after he's done building the garage, the government will now want to look at manpower to man the garage for effective administrative purposes. And you know what? The government will go back to the
Let me shake it the more. When my dad was alive, he had an advertising company outdoor. So when we go and paste these boards, we pay the Agbero. You pay them. You will pay the state government, the local government, you will pay LASA, you pay this or that, but you will pay these Agberos. Why? Because at night, they will climb up and they will tear your board. And there's nothing you can do. They will tell you that, don't worry, you don't want to pay us. Come back tomorrow and
we will destroy it.
They will destroy it. So who's going to fight for you?
And
there was a time we were there, we were about to paste the board. One other Agbero from another jurisdiction, because they have jurisdiction, he came, he threatened us. We now went to meet the leader of that particular jurisdiction. They took that boy, they beat him up, and they told him never to come.
Okay. Now, so this is some form of lawlessness.
Well, you might call it lawlessness, but these are the things that happen whilst you run a business in these places that we are trying to look at expanding the tax dragnet. Let's go digital. So yeah, now we've gone digital. Are we free from it?
Okay. Now this responsibility now falls in the lap, not just on the table. It has to get to you. It falls in the lap of those that are responsible for this. We say no non-state actors should come in between the taxpayer and the government where the tax is going to. Make these things possible. Make doing business easy. And people will oblige and will want to go ahead and get these things done. Let's get to see what's happening in energy. Now, there's no public service advertisement, but now listen. JMG, you heard me right. They've installed solar system, saving them 40 million in diesel costs. Exactly the GMG, you know. They've installed 129 kilowatt hybrid solar system at its Lagos head office, cutting diesel expenses by nearly 40 million annually. Okay, now we'll stop there. Excellencies. There's no lady here. Gentlemen. Now GMG has sold generators and generating sets for as long as I can remember. All of a sudden, they have come into the solar business. Now they've decided to say, okay, let's use ourselves as advertisement. Are we seeing a shift in business strategy, or this is a PR stunt?
Well, I can't speak for GMG.
No, just speak as an observer.
Well, it could be both. Because we've always said that for light to be stable, there's well, I call them a cabal, or I call them a caucus of generator merchants.
They are part of it.
Yes.
Major players.
Yes.
Okay.
So for us to have stable power, you have to be able to fight these guys. Because like people always say, these guys have people in the corridors of the red chambers who are lurking, who are lobbying, making sure that certain bills are not being passed. And so it's a whole lot. For them now going into solar, I mean, it tells us that maybe electricity might not be stable after all.
Okay. Now, Priye, let me come to you. Of recent, we've seen major players, heavy major players, invest in power generation. From the Adele case to the Adenugas to Fort Oil, former Fort Oil owner, to even Dangote, down to Tony Lumelu. They are all investing in generation. Are the generator sellers seeing that a shift is coming?
Well, they can begin to perceive that a shift is coming, but you know, there's always going to be a market. So if they look at the shift that is coming, the names you just mentioned going into power, who are they providing it for? Because if we look at the strata of society and we look at the way power consumption, is being stratified, who is consuming what? You still have the band A and the band B and the band saga. So now when it is demarcated, who is going to provide power for the man at the ebb of society in the middle of nowhere, in the rural area? And when that power is provided, even though it is constant and consistent, the investors, they know that they are going to it's going to be a long-term investment plan for people in that terrain, for them to be able to make back their returns. And it has to be consistent.
It's a long-term investment.
Great. It's a long.
You have it.
You have it. So the investment, those who are investing in that need to have that sort of business patience, to be able to get back their return.
Do you think so? Looking at what we've been generating for a while,
yes,
and their ability to service and sell directly.
Are they going to?
Which means their major issue is majorly going to be transmission and distribution.
Transmission.
But right now they have the generating plants. Some almost done, some done. Typical example: Geometrics in Aba. That they are transmitting already, even though they still use the federal government facilities and the discourse facilities. But right now, a whole lot of changes is happening. States are asking to be independent in transmission and distribution. That is still on the table of the government. They are still fighting it. Everybody is coming. And are these generator people, specifically GMG, are they seeing a shift in business model?
Well, they can begin to see shift. I think they're already seeing shift in the business model. However, there are still some bottlenecks because they are looking at the market. They're not only looking at the investor. Whilst they are looking at the investors trying to pump money into it, they are looking at what the market can offer you.
But remember, they've also gone into sales of solar panels.
Yes, they have. And that's where they are making money. This is not just, Olumide said it could both be a PR and a shift in business model, like you said. But it's a PR. Okay. It's a PR to tell you, hey, look, we have diversified. So whichever part of the divide you stand, we are here to provide you services to do that. That's their ultimate, that's their objective concerning this announcement. But the other thing is investment. Because when we talk about investment and power, you rightly mentioned, but it's quite a long time. But there are some areas where it's not an industrial hub. You don't have manufacturing hubs there. But these are some of the facilities that will be able to bring back profit to those who are making the power available and consistently. And if it's available, they will pay any price for it. Consistently.
Paying any price is...
Yes, it's relative because they will carry out the burden. So when I mean pay any price for it, in the sense that if it's reliable, they will go with it.
Okay.
All right. So I also like to chip in this. Okay. While solar might seem like a good idea, let's also look at some things. There are a lot of things we need to put into consideration. Solar can be used as an alternative source of power and not a permanent, because one of the major issues is that solar itself can only convert 15 to about 22% of what it gets from the sun into electricity. Also, you have to also look at the weather. That's the major thing. Now, in southern parts of Nigeria, that's Lagos and the rest of them, we experience rainy seasons for up to 8 months, beginning from like April to November. We're supposed to have a mid-break around this August, but the rain fell this morning. So you have to consider those things. If the rain is coming from 4 to 8 months in a year, how many months do you have left to generate power? So, like I said, it might be an alternative, but at the long run, it's not something we can really say, okay, we want to phase out light. And because I hear some people say that they don't use power in their house, it's just solar. And I'm wondering how they do it. Maybe they just have a fan and one bulb in their house, maybe.
Okay. We are looking at solutions and solutions. We definitely will profile. Let's tell you what's happening in agriculture. That's one of our mainstay. And that is where we always want to run to. Now, enough on this table, we'll tell you enough of the rhetoric, enough of the government, this money, this. Let's really get to see results. Now, plateau farmers Plateau State. Farmers, they've started reaping bumper harvest. That's your major import. That's where you get the biggest harvest of Irish potatoes. Farmers in Mangu and Bokos, Plateau State, they have recorded one of their best Irish potato harvests in years. Thanks to early and steady rainfall, despite persistent insecurity, the bumper yields have driven prices down sharply, with a 50 kg bag dropping from over 100,000 in January to about 30,000 at the farm gate. Traders in Jos Market say the glut has forced price adjustments, but customers are benefiting from cheaper food supplies. While insecurity and poor storage remains concerns, farmers and officials see the harvest as a boost to food availability and local livelihoods. This is where we are right now. We are looking forward to being able to plant all year round and not just during the planting season. This is where government comes. This is where the river basins, Ministry of Water Resources, every one of them need to come and play right now.
Yes.
Last year we had a whole lot of issues when it had to do with food insecurity. Food was scarce on the tables. Then we had the rainy season come. We have no excuse. 3 months is enough to plant and feed a nation. We've gone past that 3 months. Harvest time has come. How do we start dealing with what they are harvesting and the ability to plant again?
Well, kudos to the harvest of Irish potato. I hope it gets down to Lagos. I like potatoes, and I'd like to have some of that. But we also have irrigation, we have flood to tackle with, which is a major issue. And year in, year out, NEMA will tell you, this place, NIMET will come and tell you these cities are prone, and it's until when it happens, that is when state governments start to scamper and look for solutions. So we have that on our hands. We also have the bigger one, the bigger elephant, insecurity. The story says that despite insecurity, they were able. So which means that if the government want to actually do something, they can actually do something. If they want to make these farmers plant and be able to harvest all year round, the government can actually do something. We've heard governors say that they know where these people live, and they can actually go and pick them if they want to. So it's all like the bulk of the whole job lies on the state government and the federal government to try as much as possible to get things done. Major problem about Nigeria is we don't do things when we are supposed to do things. That is the major problem.
Doing things when we are supposed to get them done. Pray. Now, let's look at, aside insecurity, let's look at storage. A lot of Irish potato is highly perishable. A lot of things are also coming from Plateau, from Jos. They're also very perishable, from the berries down to, surprisingly, tomatoes, pepper, apple. How can we start looking at processing and ability to store them, be it cold storage or whatever kind of storage, or processing to the next secondary level?
Okay, so one of the reasons why we have very, very few investors jump into that part of it is they've looked at the outcome and the value chain. You are able to go to the farms, or those who are investors, those who are buyers and sellers, or who are critical part of the value chain, are looking at, okay, going to the farms or probably buying it directly even before harvest time from the farmer and paid for it. They will need to look for storage facilities or put one in place for these products that are highly perishable to be stored in those cold rooms. In those places, mean they will need to have staff to man those places, or even if they are renting one of those facilities, they will need this facility, those who run the facility will need to have a 24/7 power to make sure that the cold room or the cold facility is functional, so that the goods, with what we're trying to save them in the first instance, preventing them from going bad, is sustained. Then after they've run that and they pay the cold room and they finally bring it out and they are shipping it to its destination in that fresh way it is preserved, then you know that now it's not going to be sold in the normal price with the way they got straight from the market, from the farm, and from the farm straight to the market where consumers buy it. No, prices are going to change. And when the prices change, it's going to be made for another certain class of people.
But the price won't be as bad as those January prices.
Yes, the price may not be as bad, but the price, I tell you, you might have more than 50% increase in price.
Okay, now
You might.
Look at this. If you go to a lot of superstores, supermarkets.
That's why I mentioned that it's only going to go to certain places. It's not going to go to your normal conventional markets.
Okay, now if you go to some supermarkets, talking about Irish potatoes, you see Irish potatoes that have been bagged, peeled, washed, sliced, preserved, and bagged, and they're coming from outside this country, and you see them all year round. Don't you see our ability to also do the same thing?
Look at these countries where these things are coming from. First of all, they have 24/7 power supply, uninterrupted power supply. They have a very effective and efficient farming community and landscape where
we have an efficient farming community.
That we are working towards that.
Okay.
Well, we don't have one. We are working towards that. So they have it.
Okay.
Then there's this smooth transition from the farms to the storage facilities, from the storage facility to the local market, then from the local market, the one that is being diverted to shipping abroad, to be shipped abroad, which is a smooth process, and it goes all year round. And they've equally set up a farming system whereby there's harvest almost every 3 months or quarterly.
How can we replicate?
Oh, I think the last time we spoke about this, we saw NASENI and the National Information Technology Development Agency, trying to collaborate to develop manufacture some of these instruments and equipments that will increase our capacity for us to be able to deliver at 3 consecutive times of harvest in a year.
Processing and storage.
Processing and storage, of course, is even going to be built. When we talk about the manufacturing, when we talk about the capacity and the equipment, that we're still going to be talking about bailing the cat from NASENI, because they equally said the same thing. But I don't want to put the bulk of the responsibility on NASENI alone. Private individuals coming to the space, they're looking at the sustainability of it and how those who are investing in the farms will be able to bear the brunt and in a way sustain it. Because if they are bearing the brunt themselves, they need to have a market that can equally bear the brunt, because there's going to be a transfer of the price.
Okay. All right, Souq, I was waiting for you to enlighten Priye. When you, I, and Doctor were here, and they mentioned something about witchcraft and sorcery.
Okay.
On farmlands.
On farmlands.
Yes.
Okay.
Must we go there? Okay.
That's another factor.
Priye, pretend like you didn't hear it.
Okay.
So that you don't get scared.
Pretense mode activated.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So that you don't get scared. Now, let's talk about logistics. If you travel, Nigeria is a very vast country. If you travel from the north, let's say from Jos, Plateau, Benue, all the way to Lagos, you see trucks, we call them lorry around here, you see trucks laden with tomatoes, yams, pepper, potatoes. And if there happen to be a breakdown and a total loss of what that truck is filled with, and we see that happen a lot of times.
Looting and the rest.
Aside the looting, these are perishables. They don't last that long. How can we get the government to fast track the construction of rails that can move this things overnight and cheaper?
Well, I guess we will have to fix our rails as quick as possible, because, like I always say, it's the safest mode of traveling and transportation. It's the safest. If we can have our rails working, not just around the country. I mean, late President Muhammadu Buhari tried to run one from Nigeria to Niger and
Maladi,
but they're not. Imagine if we had a rail that runs across Africa. That's what we call intra-African trade. That would have been a smooth ride. Imagine if we could get rice. All you have to do is load the rice from Niger or wherever in a train, and it comes all the way to Lagos. We will have there will be no food scarcity all year round. But these tracks, it's a whole lot.
It's a whole lot, but we can't give up. We have to keep preaching it and pushing it.
Because I like to travel via train, because I've enjoyed that luxury of traveling via train, and it's convenient, it's smooth. Yes, we still have some insecurities here and there, but if we can work on those tracks, it will save cost. It will
save time?
It will save time. It will save a whole lot of things.
To save wastage?
To save wastage.
Okay, let's get to you the one last time before we go to our next story. Let's look at how do we cut the middleman out of this? You've talked about taking this thing of the farmer. When the middleman is involved, he fleeces the farmer. How can we get other organizations or the government to take directly from the farmer? Lagos State is trying to do that already. They've dropped a fund of about 500 billion. How can we get governments and major agencies to take from the farmer so the farmer can go back, be able to really meet his own responsibility as a human being and go back to the farmer?
The government needs to deal directly with the farmers, and the farmers will need to play their role in this regards. You have a farm, is it registered?
Registered?
Yes. Is it registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission?
Registered.
And you register farms with Corporate Affairs Commission?
Is it an organization? Is it a business? Is it a business?
So you want to tax the farmer, right?
No. It's not about taxing, because the government needs to have you on record. And the government needs to know you. So when we're talking about the extension workers going to some of these farms to verify.
These farmers are, for lack of better word, peasants.
Okay.
Not all are peasants.
Not all.
Majority
so
are not.
let's assume that some of them are peasants.
Okay.
Let's assume that some of them are peasants. Through the instrumentality of the agriculture extension workers that the government normally send to some of these communities and to these farms, they can integrate both the rightful owners of these farms with the government, and the government can maintain a record and digitize the process whereby it can send some of these extension workers for the purpose of monitoring, for the purpose of creating an awareness and passing down critical information to these.
Once you bring in the government for capturing registration, taxing would follow. We know this system.
Taxing is not the only thing that follows. So if the government is not going to do that, how is the government going to have a complete record and data of these people? No, I'm coming. So we're talking about taking or to ameliorate or bring some form of palliative to the real farmers who encounter some form of problems, or for them not to be cheated by the middleman. They need access to credit. So if the government is going to make them credit worthy, or give some form of access to credit of that specific farmer, as the government going to get that record? As the government going to CFO is, you could own a house. You could own a house.
Okay.
You could be just built a shop or a land,
yes,
and that does not make you a farmer. The government needs to know that you are
Inspection.
operating and running a farm. So if we are going to inspect it, how is the government going to expect that?
Then
if government is going to send representatives by virtue of the extension workers from the Ministry of Agriculture, that is exactly the same thing I said earlier, that they will need to go there and see that the farm exists, and know that you are the person that owns that particular farm, and you've been running that farm for at least 2 years, or 18 months.
Hold on.
Just a moment.
Why run farm for 2 years? Why not just you've harvested on the farm or you've planted on the farm?
Okay, then we need to see that you've planted and you've harvested. And the state government cannot even do that in isolation. The state government needs to work with a local government in which that farm is located, so that the government can have a confirmation from the local government that is closer to the people at the head of society, or closer to the farmer and the community, who knows that Baba Shukura runs a farm. He plants Irish potatoes and he's flourishing. He has mangoes there, he has cassava, he has plantation in there. So if the government is aware and that this fictitious name Baba Sukura is actually running a viable farm, then it makes him accessible to credit, not just only to credit.
But what I'm saying is that you don't need to have them register.
Register?
Yes.
For them to access records.
To access the credit, to access any credit facility.
Okay, but if
that's what
he's running a business, he's running a business. This man is running a business. He owns a farm.
Okay.
He did register with the Corporate Affairs Commission. Some of the organizations that we speak recently, some of those organizations that the government is talking about, that in the new tax administration, they'll be exempted from tax if they do not, if their annual return is less than 50 million or 25 million.
Yes.
If they're going to do that, how is the government going to arrive arrive at the fact that, okay, this Souq's Sons and Companies is actually an SME. It runs an organization, and that for filing their own monthly income on their returns, we'll see from the books that they do not earn up to 50 million naira annually, so they are exempted from paying tax. How is the government going to be availed this information
monitor
if they
their
are not
annual returns?
registered?
Okay. Now let's leave monitoring annual returns of one peasant farmer somewhere in Gombe and talk about his ability to get his produce taken off him at a very good price, and his ability to come back and farm again.
Great.
His
Now,
ability to get access to government subventions, get access to fertilizer.
Government subventions,
Definitely
fertilizers.
He has the ability to also get channeled
Yes.
with whatever irrigation plan the government has.
Are you known by the
extension
government?
workers. You said?
Are you known
Are you
by
known?
the government?
Okay. Now,
Does the government know you?
Hold on, Priye. Before we start turning this farmer into a politician.
No. But it's a community.
Let's make the farmer
I don't understand how the government is going to give you
Now,
subvention
the
when it doesn't even know
Hello,
you claim to be a farmer.
The government will know him when the extension workers get to his farm.
Simple.
When the extension workers get to the local government and the farmers
And
are
what is the
called,
local?
he is
What is
there.
the essential worker going to do? He's going to carry a paper, or he's going to carry a tab.
Snap the farm.
Snap the farm. That
Okay.
what if the same extension farmer snap the farm from this direction and say it is registered with Souq's and Companies? Go to the other farm. No, just a moment. Snap the farm from the other back direction and say this is owned by Abraham Lincoln. Then goes to the other part of the farm and empty vast land. Snap the farm and say, this is owned by Lukman and Sons. Then go to another and that same extension worker now forges a record.
Priye, we are not looking
And that
at.
needs to be
hold on,
digitized.
Priye, we're not looking at criminal minds here.
No, we have to look at, because
Hold
corruption
on.
is an intricate
Hold on.
part of
Hold on.
running business in
Hold on.
Nigeria.
You're
Yeah.
making it seem that these farmers do unscrupulous
Hold on.
things.
Oh, the middle farmer is a
Hold on.
farmer, right?
Hold on.
The middleman is also a farmer.
Hold on,
Or
Priye.
he claimed.
The
Who
middle-
said
the
who
middle-
claimed is a farmer?
the middleman is
And
not a farmer. He's
Because
just
he
coming
now
to buy
says
of product.
he says it's a farmer on paper, but it's not a farmer on ground.
Okay.
That is what we are trying to remove from here. And if
Okay,
we're trying to
hold
remove
on,
it
hold
in this
on,
conversation,
hold on.
we
Priye.
have to make sure that the farmer, the real farmer, is standing on both feet.
Okay, Priye, the middle person we are talking about here is not a farmer. He just goes there and buys the product of the farmer at a ridiculous price, then come back to Lagos to sell to you at 5,000.
And tell the
profit.
government he's a farmer.
He doesn't tell any
He
government. he's a farmer.
does, because that's
Okay, now,
most
hold
of
on,
these persons are the
hold on,
people that
hold
get
on,
away with the
Priye.
fertilizers
Hold on.
to sell to the real
Hold on.
farmers
The
instead
people
of the
that
real
get away
farmers.
with the fertilizers are people in government. Don't.
The white paper farmer is a government official that presents, that masquerades as a real farmer, cuts away the subsidies that the government is giving to farmers, sells it to the real farmer, takes the money away, go back to the government and said, we have sold it. Then go back to the farmer again, buys the fertilizers, bring it back to the government, sells it to the government, takes it from the government again, and takes it back to the farmer. This is a round tripping of the correction of the corruption that we are trying to remove from the system. And that is the reason why I am proposing that every original true farmer needs to register so the government can know them.
They can register with the local government.
They can register. Okay, local government is a government.
Yes, they can
So when I
register
say register with the government, it could be with the local government, it could be with the state government. So
Yeah,
let's
no, no,
assume,
no.
even if they are registered with
They are
the
far from-
local,
they are far from the
yes,
state
they are
government.
registered with the local government.
Yes.
But sometimes subvention, fertilizers comes from the federal government
To the state
to
government.
the state
State
government.
government, to the
How is
local
it-
government.
No, before it gets from the state government to the local government, records must be provided, because it is easy to disappear. Between the federal government and the state government, there is a space. There are middle farmers there who are government officials and politicians who can
Priye.
divert
Now
the
you're putting the blame on
we
the
have to
local
make
government.
these things bare.
Okay, Priye, calm down.
And the government.
Calm down.
Okay, he's calm.
Calm down.
All right.
You good now, right?
Yeah, very good.
Just breathe.
Okay.
Okay, good. Now, for everyone out there, we need to all get involved. When you see something, say something. If somebody is diverting produce that's supposed to be fertilizer, be it whatever government incentive they're supposed to get the farmer, say something. And don't take advantage of the poor farmer out there. Well, they're not poor. Just don't take advantage of anyone out there. Let's get to our next story, and that has to do with tech. OpenAI, you heard us. They own the franchise for your ChatGPT. Now, former employees, both current and former employees of OpenAI, are planning to sell about $6 billion, you heard me right, $6 billion worth of company shares to investors including SoftBank, Thrive Capital, and Dragonair. According to Reuters, the secondary sale could raise OpenAI's valuation from $300 billion to $500 billion, highlighting its rapid growth and rising investor demand. The deal is still in early talks, and the final size may change. Boosted by ChatGPT's popularity, OpenAI has doubled revenue this year, reaching 12 billion run rate with expectation to hit 20 billion by year end. The company now counts over 700 million weekly active users, up from 400 million in February. Gentlemen, this is a game of numbers.
Yes.
This is strictly a game of numbers. OpenAI, American intelligence, it was artificial intelligence organization, founded in December 2015. When it was founded, they said it was going to be a non-profit organization. But by 2019, things were changing, and as we speak right now, we're looking at 500 billion in valuation.
Yes.
It's all a game of numbers. Now let's flip this table. Let's flip this table. How can we start seeing African companies, Nigerian companies grow? We're not saying get to this. At least let's just start seeing them grow.
Okay. The thing is, when a Nigerian or an African comes up with something, instead of calling it OpenAI, remember China made their own version, right?
Yeah, they did. They have
DeepSeek, right? Is it when we look at it in terms of market valuation, we also know where it's heading, right? So emulated, the thing is, a Nigerian which will come up with something somewhere that you are calling, just call it a name. Let's just know. The thing is, will Chooks use it? The thing
if it's offering the services I need for, why will I not use it?
Yes. So if it's not offering the services, if it's offering the services, probably not at the quality you expect.
Now, quality relative.
No. Of course, it's relative. So, okay, would you be able to use it and give feedback to these domestic manufacturers or these domestic designers who run such for them to improve on it? Because I'm sure OpenAI didn't get to where it is currently, because earlier when it came up and they say it's a non-profit, so that means they didn't even see any market valuation in it. But at the end of the day,
it's not about market valuation. It was more of them coming in. Starting at initial startup, they were looking at, okay, good, this is going to benefit humanity. Oh, let's make it non-profit.
Yes.
But at the long run, they saw that, man, this is going to transform a whole lot of tech innovations.
Yes.
Let's monetize this.
When Africans do it,
so
when we should go for our
it must not
creators.
It must not be artificial intelligence. I'm just looking at any other company. When can we start looking at African companies? Openly get out there and get this kind of value. It might not be this rate or amount of valuation, but adoption, usage, numbers.
Let's look at the number of people that, because they told us from 400 million, it jumped about 700 million, which is about 90% usage.
You know, each time you use ChatGPT, you are contributing to building it.
Okay, so yes, that's why I asked you the question: would Chooks use it?
Okay,
if we have one. So let's assume that we have a Nigerian, or yes, we had brought up something like this. Can we use it? Because I'm sure when you look at the number of usage very well, I'm sure Africans will not go anything less than 25-30% of that total number of usage.
Let me come to you now.
Because China is not using it. China is not using it. They are using their DeepSeek.
Let's look at Africa as a whole and our ability to come up with a social messaging app. Is it something that is possible? There are several of them there, but are we using them? Why are we not using them?
Now, ChatGPT, Elon Musk is one of the founders. At the point, he had to step down because he had conflicting this thing, and it solely relies on undiluted data research. So, for us to go into something like this, do we even have data? Do we have equipment that we can use to conduct research? Because it deals with, arguably accuracy. It might not be 100%, because there are sometimes you would prompt ChatGPT and it will tell you that this information is not available, but this are something that you can use or something close to it. So which means even ChatGPT sometimes can tell you it does not have that particular information, but it has.
They are all aggregation of information.
Do you understand? So if we are going to do something like this in Africa, it's a whole lot. I would say the federal government should not.
Federal government again?
Not come in.
Okay.
Not come in at all.
Okay. Okay. For everyone out there, remember that we want to see African companies be part of the Fortune 500. Hey, it's possible. Somebody will say, what about Dangote? No, let's leave Dangote out of it. These are private businesses. Let's see young people come together and bring innovation to the fore, and Africa will support. For everyone that will be part of Souq Business Landscape today, I want to say thank you very much. Remember, go to all social media platforms and follow us at Souq News TV. Communicate, say something, vent if you can, and we will reply you. My name is Souq John Rogers Souq. Remember, there is no other place better than home. So make home very, very accommodating. We'll do this again tomorrow. Priya?
Yes, I'm Oyin Priya Promala. Good morning to you once again. Many thanks for watching.
And I'm Olumide Shokoya. It's been a pleasure. Stay tuned.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
It said it's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq Business Landscape.